Me and the Lord, we got an understanding.
We're on a mission from God.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and at all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
You're riding Morning Shotgun with the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here weekdays, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
If we actually enjoyed our New Year's resolutions, we'd all have 6-packs, money in our saving accounts, and we'd know how to play the piano. I have to tell you about the one resolution I actually enjoy. It's Built Bar. It's delicious. Oh yeah, it's healthy too. Built Bar is healthier than your favorite protein bar. They're low-cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, great for the keto diet. Lose or maintain weight while indulging. And with only 4 net carbs and 150 calories, there's no guilt. Visit BuiltBar.com.
This is Sean O'Toole with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Catch me Drive Time with Matt McGee, the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and Facebook Live.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
I'm 7-0 this season.
You auto-drafted. That's what all the great GMs do. They delegate.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah, I did. I set the cue.
Without fantasy football, what would friends talk about?
I almost wore shorts today.
Oh.
I was going to do a sweatshirt shorts combo. Switched to pants instead.
Armchair.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night.
There's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. And engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
You're listening to CBS Sports Radio. We are all sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Strong opinions and your phone calls. Expected here. CBS Sports Radio.
Triple decker burn!
We are live from the Orange Bowl in Miami, Florida. There's a sellout crowd, of course, a wild air of anticipation. The undefeated Chicago Bears are in town to meet the Miami Dolphins. There have been 3 undefeated teams in the NFL over the years. The Bears have a pair of them. The last to be undefeated were the 72 Dolphins. 14-0 regular season. They went to 17-0 with the victory over Washington in Super Bowl 7. The offensive set with Nat Moore in it. It was so successful in the first half is on the field now for a 3rd down and 6. Duper, Moore, and Slayton. Out of the way. Into the arms of Clayton. Oh, and are things going right for the Dolphins tonight? 42-yard touchdown. Batted into the air at the line of scrimmage. This is vintage Monday Night Football. Dwight Stevenson remains the center, even though in pain with the right shoulder injury for the Dolphins. Marino gets the pressure, but he gets it to Nat Moore. And there are quarterbacks who bring magic to a football team. McMahon is a type of quarterback, a Bobby Lane, if you will. Pardon me, Joe, a Joe Namath, if you will. Final seconds ticking off. Bears will not go undefeated, but they have put life and a spark into football in general and Chicago in particular. What a victory for the Dolphins. And Dan Marino reigns supreme once again. Peyton on the night will wind up with 121 yards.
Armchair Quarterbacks Radio covers the whole SEC the whole season long.
Here's Tua stepping back.
Loads up, looks long, throws, end zone, touchdown! Alabama! Devontae Smith! Touchdown, Alabama! And the Crimson Tide has once again ascended to the top of the college football mountain.
Again, it's going to be Propel, wing, and the kicker, Drew Alamo. LSU remains undefeated.
Passes away, penalty flag down. Lamar Thomas has got it. Lamar Thomas is on his way down the sideline. George Teague is after him and runs him down. Takes the ball away from him. Teague's got the ball.
Well, congratulations to the LSU Tigers, the 2008 BCS National Champion.
Armchair.
SEC!
Oh, please, not the Ashbys. Family emergency. Apparently it's so urgent they didn't even have time to think of a plausible excuse.
So where does that leave us?
Well, let's see. We have a third-rate caterer with a record. 2 lushes. A couple who think we're both nutcases. An Argentine wild child and Roz. Dinner is served.
Good morning. Welcome to the Payoff Pitch with Sean O'Toole and Texas Troche. Stephen Troche, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. Got another full day of baseball, 15 games, 8 at 1 o'clock, 7 at 7 o'clock. So can't complain there.
Yeah, it's a little surprising there aren't more games at the 4 o'clock slate, right? But yeah, it gets going today at 1 o'clock, and we're going to do the 7 o'clock slate on DFS because obviously it's going to give everyone more time to dig into the show, get their lineup set, et cetera, et cetera. And Sean O'Toole, how the hell are you, Atlanta, Detroit?
I'm doing good this morning. It was a weird night. Atlanta had a big win, and Detroit was blown out by the middle of the second inning. So my day was weird yesterday. We'll see what it's like today.
So all is back to normal. Okay, sweet.
Right. Yes. Yes. Everything is in its right place.
Well, let's go ahead and start off with a segment that you wanted to do called Tiger Beat. I guess we're going to talk Detroit Tigers for the next 3.5 hours.
No, we're not. So the joke of Tiger Beat was I just thought it would give you yet another opportunity to ridicule me because it was, a teen heartthrob magazine in the 80s. But it's not really going to be all about that. I see the panda. It's not all going to be about the Tigers.
When it heats up, you see the panda. When it gets cold, you do not see the panda. So I'm drinking a lot of coffee in the 9th innings nowadays.
So the purpose of the Tiger Beat bit is in fantasy, there are a lot of players on bad teams that can help you in roto and important statistical categories or just in weekly matchups. And they get hot from time to time. They're not people that, are going to be 95% rostered. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just going to take every week one guy from a team who's either last or next to last in their division or is really bad. And it's someone you can probably get relatively easily. The one I'm going to mention this week, and he is a Detroit Tiger. That's not why I named the bit that, is Jonathan Scope, who was an all-star when he was in Baltimore. Not that, being an all-star is like being an all-NBA player because every team gets one player. But Scope has always been a very, very good hitter. He had that wayward year in Milwaukee, and now he's had 2 seasons in Detroit. He is currently slugging .595 in his last 10 games with a .978 OPS. His average fantasy points per game in his last 10 games is 11. He has positional eligibility at first base and second base. And he has 4 games in the month of June where he scored more than 25 points in DraftKings or FanDuel formats, including a 35-pointer and a 44-pointer. I just think he lives really, really under the radar because he's not a special player. He's not. He's, an early 30s, first baseman, second baseman, but he's got a lot of sock in that bat and he kills left-handers. The reason I mentioned him today is because they're starting Patrick Sandoval out in Los Angeles or Anaheim against him. And he's a guy who's going to run hot and cold. You're going to have to put up with a week where he doesn't score more than 5 points to get the games where he goes 25, 35, 40. But that power's in there, and he'll have those games. And he's like 44% rostered from what I can tell in Yahoo, a little less than that in ESPN. I just think he's someone that if you're having trouble filling those spots, especially at second base, take a flyer on him because, he's not going to disappoint you over the long term. You're just going to have to live with some up and down. What do you say, Steven?
Oh, no. I mean, I love that on Scope. I was actually looking at him to talk about a little bit for my segment, but no, I mean, one guy I want to quickly mention in that vein is Cedric Mullins for the Orioles. Over the past 2 weeks, I mean, one of Sean's favorite stats, the WRC plus, he is leading the league at 269. I mean, he's batting .435, 527 OBP, 848 slugging. He's got 5 home runs, 9 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in his last 12 games. And he's doing that while striking out only 14% of the time and walking 11%. I don't know how long this is going to last, but if you can get it, like almost every league I'm in, I think he's still on waivers. So I don't have the exact numbers, but he should still be out there. If you're looking for something like a little quick burst of power, or like even if you need some steals, Mullins might be a good place to look at.
All right.
I think he's got the 3rd most points on my team where I have Ronald Acuna Jr. Just to mention that, like he's been very, very, he was somebody I took really late in the draft just because I knew he was going to play every day. And the book on him was he was kind of a slap hitter. That's not been the case this year. So yeah, love Cedric Mullins. That's a good one.
All right. So since I never get anything sent to me, we'll just move on from that because I'm going to assume that segment's over. Bargain bin, what you got this week?
Sean, I'll let you start this one.
Yeah, on the bargain bin, I'm going to start with Bobby Bradley of the Cleveland Indians. This is a call-up. Cleveland's had a lot of injuries in the lineup and just a lot of guys that haven't, performed up to standard so far this year. I think they were counting on, a little bit more, from Franmil, and they haven't gotten that at all. Franmil's basically just striking out. So everything's kind of fallen to Jose Ramirez. Bradley was, based on who you believe as far as prospects go, their 3rd highest rated batting prospect. Some had him 5th, some had him 6th. He had a brief call-up at the end of the season during September call-ups in 2019, where he really looked, overmatched. He struck out 20 times in 15 games and only batted $178. But he started this year kind of behind Owen Miller and Nolan Jones on Cleveland's organizational positional player depth chart as far as batters go. And they called him up in the last couple of weeks, 11 games, hitting .333, 722 slugging, 1122 OPS, 4 home runs, 11 runs batted in. He's only struck out 10 times in 11 games. So it seems like he's maybe seen the ball a little bit better or not extending the zone, being a little bit more patient. And he always had pop, left-handed guy, throws right-handed, really is just a first base DH guy. So, I mean, think Carlos Santana. This is basically a younger Carlos Santana. That's who this guy is. He's definitely not going to play 9 positions. But a really good looking young prospect at 6'1", 225, and is someone that I think if he's available in your leagues, and I kind of had him pulled up, he's already up to 33%. I mean, he was at like 0 or 1, 2 weeks ago. If he's somebody you have roster space for and you're disappointed in what you're getting at first base, don't drop Jared Walsh for him. But, if you took a flyer on, CJ Crone, is the name that always comes to my mind. He's going to be really, really up and down. This might be a long-term flyer. And especially if you're in a dynasty league, like go get him, 5 minutes ago. So that's my bargain bin for the week. What do you got, Trish?
I'm going to go the other side of the ball. One pitcher I've been looking at recently is Bailey Ober out of Minnesota. He came out, I think he came up a few weeks ago, started against the White Sox as a call-up, just a spot start. And he actually did pretty well. I mean, he 4 strikeouts. It was 4 strikeouts, 4 earned runs in 4 innings, but wasn't the best. But he's gotten extended runs since then. Faced the Royals, Houston, and Mariners, and 3 runs combined against all 3 of them. And what is that? 13 plus 4, 17 runs in 17 strikeouts in 12 innings. But the one thing that's really surprised me about him is he was really like almost a soft tosser. Like his fastball really never topped out above 88, 89. He really kind of just relied on his command and his getting weak contact to get by. And I mean, he's 6'9", so like that arm angle is going to be coming in different than most pitchers you're going to see. But one thing that's really caught my eye is in the last couple starts, his fastball velocity is up in the low 90s now, and he's getting the strikeouts. He's looking really dominant right now, and he's actually going to be getting extended run in the rotation. They've already said he's been on a pitch count now, and they're going to lift that as the season goes on. He's got a 30% strikeout rate and a 2% walk rate. I'm still using him as a streamer right now, but like in your deeper leagues, dynasty leagues, go get him. Make sure he's on your roster. Anything other than that, I definitely look at him as a streamer, maybe as a flyer. But this guy could take off and could stick in this rotation if he keeps this up. And I think he's only rostered in 4% of leagues on Yahoo.
Interesting. I like that one. Okay. One more quick kind of pitcher hit for me. We mentioned this guy in a prospect, in a prospect segment a couple weeks ago. There's another pitcher I want to talk about later. But Logan Gilbert, who was, one of the prize call-ups of Seattle's, early season call-ups. Some of that's worked out, some of it hasn't. Kellenic has already been sent back to Tacoma, to kind of work on some stuff. But Gilbert stayed up with the big league team. The thing that is notable to me looking at his Baseball Savant, the only thing I really like to look at Baseball Savant for when it comes to pitchers, especially young pitchers, is pitch tracking and to see what pitches they're throwing and what the extended information is on those pitches. So he's got a good but not great fastball. It's about 92 to 94, which is it's funny for me to call that pedestrian given what it was when I was growing up. But 92 to 94 is pedestrian nowadays. 97 to 100 is elite. He's started to back off of that a little bit more and not throw it as much. He really throws it as a first pitch to get ahead in the count, and then he starts to go slider curveball. So his slider numbers are just incredible. He's thrown way more of them than his curveball. The curveball sample size is too low for me to mention. But for his slider, he's thrown 120 of them, 86 to righties, 34 to lefties. On those 120, batters are hitting 0.86 on them with an expected batting average of 137 and a whiff percentage of 38.1 and a put away percentage, meaning strikeout pitch, of 20%. That is an elite. Those are elite numbers. That is Aroldis Chapman's fastball up in the zone elite. That is nobody's hitting this pitch. So he's been very, very, positive in terms of progression his last couple of starts. His DraftKings value was 12.5 points, 14 points, and then his last start was 27. His last start was his best start so far. He struck out 6. I think it was against Cleveland. He struck out 6. He went 6 innings. He only walked a couple. He's a guy who's going to live in the zone. So, if you pick him up, he's somewhere in the low 40s in most fantasy leagues that I've looked at as far as ownership, but especially the same thing I said about Bobby Bradley. If it's a dynasty, you got to go get him if he's available. Because this is a guy that if he keeps doing what he's done his last couple starts, where he's just using his fastball to set people up to get to his better pitches and not falling behind in counts and having to lob 93, down the middle where it can get hammered, because there is a pretty high hard hit rate on his fastball, which is somewhat concerning, but he's also throwing it in the middle of the zone a lot, which tells me it's a setup pitch, or he's using it when he's behind, or he's using it as a first pitch. If he can get to his slider, he can produce some really tremendous results for you in fantasy. And obviously it's just a long-term option if he's available in Dynasty. So Logan Gilbert, one I mentioned. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The other thing that's kind of it's still kind of unknown factor with Gilbert, because I have him in at least one league. I think I have him in 2. Is he has not played elite offenses yet, and so take advantage of that, because listen to the slate he's played so far. Cleveland, Detroit, Oakland was the only one that you would consider really good offense. He went 4 and gave up 2 the first time out. Could not get through the 5th inning, but that was because of pitch count. He just struggled. And then the second time out when he faced Oakland, 6-2. So you like that. And then of course the Angels, who are just terrible without Trout, and then Cleveland once again. So today, I think you could see more of the same, because he is scheduled to pitch today. He is playing against the Rays at home, who are not a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. Take advantage of it now, because next weekend he's at the White Sox, and then exactly, and then he's got like the Blue Jays and the Yankees on the horizon. But pre-All-Star break, he's got a pretty good slate. It's after the All-Star break that you're gonna have to be, if you're in a categories league, you're gonna have to be very, very cautious with sending him out there, because he could get lit up when he goes to places like the Bronx, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Who else you got, Trosh?
All right, naturally, I'll jump into a little bit of a buy sell now. One hitter I wanted to mention here, Jonathan India for the Reds. He's a rookie this year. Started out a little bit slow. Really wasn't doing too much, but then Cincinnati moved him into the leadoff spot, and he's been absolutely killing it there. He's batting .294, .417 OBP, and then a .487 slugging percentage. And I mean, hitting atop of that lineup with Winker, Castellanos, Suarez when he's hot. They got Naquin when he's facing righties. I mean, there's a lot of pop in that lineup. So I mean, like you can expect a lot of runs from him. And the one thing that's really stood out to me is his plate discipline. So he is currently being very patient at the plate. He's only swinging 41% of the time. League average is around 47. But he's also not chasing many pitches. He's only chasing pitches at a 22% rate, as opposed to the 28% league average. And I mean, I think that kind of just speaks to his patience and just in general, like the kind of hitter he is. So I'm liking that to continue. I think he's gonna keep drawing some walks. He's in the top 10% in the league in sprint speed, which could open up the stolen base potential. I think, he's only a rookie. He's got, I think right now, 2 position eligibility, second and third base. He should be someone that, especially if you're in a dynasty league, you should be targeting, because he can be hitting the top of that Cincinnati lineup for years to come.
Okay, that's a good one. I don't know if I'm just a negative man this morning, but all of my buy sell are sells, unfortunately. So, and they're all pitchers. McGee's going to enjoy this one. Well, maybe not, since we're both kind of pulling for the Giants. But if you've got him on your roster and you've been pleased by his early season results, the time is now to sell on Alex Wood. I would keep Kevin Gossman if we're just doing a Giants bit here. I would hold on to Gossman, because I think Gossman's results are a result of changes, not only in his mechanics, but also he stopped throwing his 4-seam as much and started throwing the 2-seam a lot more. His 2-seam is basically his primary pitch now. And it's nasty. It's very unhittable. But Alex Wood, I just want to go through some numbers really quick, because he came out the first 6 weeks of the season and he was just whomping people. And Alex Wood's been around. We've all seen him. He was with the Dodgers forever. McGee, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sean, since you don't have a headset, can you get a little closer to the mic? You're very echoey.
The mics are in my ears. But okay.
That's a little better.
Alex Wood is somebody we've all seen. His first 9 starts, he was averaging basically 6.5 innings, close to 7. He was striking out 3 to 4 a game. He even had a 7 strikeout game and a 9 strikeout game, which is just not the kind of stuff that he has. And then his last 4 starts, he started to look more like the Alex Wood we've seen for years and years. So the one that really sticks out to me is the Diamondbacks game. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, a walk, 7 strikeouts. That's his last start. That looks really promising. But you look at a couple before that, he's got the Angels game where he has 7 earned runs. He faced the Rangers at home, in San Francisco. I'm sorry, that was in Texas. Forget about that. 4 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts. I think he's more of that guy than what we saw the first 8 starts. I just kind of wanted to poll you guys, because I think we get tricked a lot in April and the first couple weeks of May as to what guys really are, and especially someone like Wood we've seen for a long time. His velocity is not up. His spin rate was up a little bit. I'm not gonna do the whole spider tack bit, but I think what we've seen the last 3 to 4 starts is more indicative of what he is, and his performance the first 9 starts was like top 12 pitcher in the league. So I'm selling Alex Wood right now. What say you guys?
I'm definitely selling too. I mean, he's always had the talent. He's just never been able to consistently show that talent. So, I mean, if he keeps this up, I would be surprised. And I like, that's one of the ones I'm willing to bet against him not keeping it up.
So are y'all not, I guess y'all didn't see what he did last time out, 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, quality strike.
No, I mentioned that, but it's against the Diamondbacks, who
worst team in baseball right now.
Right, worst team in baseball, about to sell, the handful of good hitters they have. Marte, Escobar, and Peralta are probably all headed somewhere else at the deadline, and Carson Kelly was never going to keep performing like 1973 Johnny Bench, like he was the first 6 weeks of the season. And since he's come back from the IL, he hasn't been there.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is he's had essentially one bad outing the entire year. He's had a couple that you were like, okay, they're not fantastic, but they're still against Texas, 5 1/3, 4 earned runs. That's not great, but it's not everyone has hiccups. And then you have 6 and 4 given up against the Dodgers, which is a hell of a offense in their own right. I'm just looking at it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm skeptical on wanting to dump a guy that's doing really well and will probably continue. We all know what Alex Wood is. He's a very solid pitcher, but are you trying to say that you're going to try to sell him in the fact that you're going to dump him, or you're talking about like, trying to trade him? Cause I don't know who would ever trade for Alex Wood. So your only other option would be to dump him.
No, not dump necessarily, as much as see what you can get for him. Think like a major league general manager and see, is there someone that is really starved for pitching and is going to look at his total numbers for the year, and maybe not the fact that 2 of his last 3 starts have been what we've expected out of him his whole career. That's kind of why I was asking everybody. His first 6 weeks, he was a top 12 pitcher in the league. His last 4 starts, if you take the composite of his last 4 starts, it's closer to what he's been for his whole career, which is not a top 12 pitcher. I mean, he's a reliable hand, nice 2nd, 3rd, 4th starter maybe. The results are going to vary depending on how good the offense is and what the environment is, but not the top 12 pitcher he was performing like in the first 6 weeks of the season.
That's I'm not saying you're wrong. I guess what I'm saying is just looking at his games, he's had one bad outing all year long, and I would be hesitant because I don't think because he's not a sexy name, so I don't think you're going to get much for him, right? Speaking of that, we're going to hold you accountable this morning, sir. Stephen Trosh, the hell were you doing trading Garrett Cole and Yu Darvish for? It's not even a keeper league. And are you tanking? You're in first place.
I mean, I got Snell and I got Zach Wheeler. I mean, it's I like that's more betting against Cole dropping off like a little bit. I mean, I think you guys are just undervaluing Snell there. He's not.
I think you're overvaluing Snell. Undervalued. I think you're extremely overvaluing Snell. Know what I'm saying?
It's a free league. It is what it is. Like you got to take some chances. I had 0 shares of. I think on my 7 leagues I had 1 share of Zach Wheeler and like 4 or 5 of Cole. You got to mix it up a little bit.
You're free to do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, when money's on the line, it's a little strange to just tank.
I didn't. I'm not in that league, but just to chime in, when I heard it, I was like,
3 and 3. I mean, 3 1/3 and 7 earned runs as soon as you get them on your team. Ouch.
Yeah,
I think you got took, man. I saw it and I was like, well, I don't see any way that one team's tanking on the other. So I'll go ahead and go this through. I was like, but it is a head scratcher. In fact, Sean's first reaction, I don't think he realized what side you were on, was he couldn't believe that the trade was even being accepted because he thought it was that lopsided. And maybe you'll be right, but we will revisit this because that is just, man, that's almost that's what I like to call outthinking yourself. Like that is just like, man, you got Garrett Cole and you got Yu Darvish. What the hell's the point of giving him to someone who is in third place. I mean, he's hot on your tail.
We'll see how it plays out.
And I'm in second place going, what the hell's going on here? It's like, well, they're doing something funny. I don't know what's going on. I guess I'm not smart enough to figure out what kind of collusion's going on here, but okay.
All right.
Well, I just had to bust your balls, man.
Oh, you're good. No, I got one more guy I want to talk about as a sell candidate. Kind of the same line as Alex Wood here. I'm interested to get your take on it, Dave. Taijuan Walker. He's having a career year.
29 teams are kicking themselves in the balls for not signing him in the offseason.
Because anybody could have had him. He was out there.
Yeah. He ended up with, what was it, 3 years, $24 million?
Yep.
Dude, even the Marlins could have signed him. They'd be like, whatever, dude. We'll figure it out.
I think teams were very spooked by his shoulder injury when he was in Arizona. And
I get that, but the Braves gave $11 million to Smiley. So what the hell? Dude,
I know.
That is just, I'd rather bank on someone staying healthy than bank on someone learning how to pitch. Like, give you $11 million. I believe in you. Your stats don't prove it, but I believe in you.
All right. So on the year, 68 innings, 72 strikeouts, 2.12 ERA, 1.0 WHIP.
Phenomenal.
I mean, those are elite numbers, and I mean, most of the expected stats back it up. I mean, the expected ERA is like a 3.4, 3.5, but like the expected batting average, slugging percentage, WOBA, they're all falling in line with what he's been doing this season. The main reasons I have for concern is exit velocity, hard hit percentage, walk percentage, and whiff rate are all below league average. And he's not getting anybody to chase right now. He's near the bottom 10%. I think he's in the 12th percentile.
I guess the one caveat with all of these, even the trade we were just talking about, is what we don't know is Monday morning, they're going to take away your spider tack and whatever the hell you're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know who is going to be most affected by that. Bob Nightingale was chirping about how Trevor Bauer had pitched okay last night. He wasn't great, but was saying it was the best start he had since Tacky Gate or what Sticky Gate, I think is what they're called. But the thing is, they haven't even started enforcing it, so he might have still been using spider tack this whole time, right? Or whatever he uses. So that's the only caveat with this entire thing is, could Taijuan Walker be a product of something sticky, or is so that's the one thing. But as far as I don't think so. I mean, his spin rate is pretty similar year to year. It really hasn't jumped that much. I mean, he's been at 3 different teams and over those stops. So, I mean, that would have to be consistent substance use across those teams, which, I mean, from what I've been hearing and seeing, it's kind of every team has their own way of universal. Doing it. It's everybody's been using it.
I don't know, everybody uses some form, but it's not everybody uses the same thing.
I get it, but whatever you liked, you probably brought with you, right? I mean, it's not like you have to hide it because before they just weren't enforcing anything. But yeah, I'll tell you one thing. If you haven't watched him pitch, he's impressive. I didn't watch him a lot in Seattle. I was just always aware of him because of fantasy baseball, but I didn't really watch him much because I'm not staying up till 12:30 in the morning to watch a Mariners baseball game. But you watch him on the Mets, man. He's got him. He's doing it to good offenses too. It's not like he's gotten a lucky draw, and constantly I don't know why, but I've gone up against the the Diamondbacks and the Pirates all year long. Like, I mean, he's out there fooling everybody. In fact, the game he got hurt against Atlanta, and I came out in like the 4th inning just like a month or so ago. He wasn't on the IL for long. Anyways, the point is, dude, he had I don't think Atlanta's going to score on that guy. He had Freddie Freeman Acuna going, the hell is this? I mean, the ball just dances and jumps, and I
mean, like my main point there, he's coming off a career high 12 strikeout game. Right. Like if he, I just don't think he's going to keep it up to like that 2.12 ERA whip.
If he does, we'll just start carving out his name in Cooper.
I still think he would. I still think he's going to be good. He's definitely looking like a better pitcher than he ever has. But his value is the highest it's ever going to be.
Let me ask you this: do you think some of it might have a lot to do with the fact that he's in a new league? A lot of these guys haven't seen him before, and he's definitely in a pitcher-friendly park. Could that be having a lot to do with it? as far, because he was always good in Seattle, but he was never this dominant. Or could he just be, or is it just the maturation of Taijuan Walker where he's learning how to pitch?
No, I think he's learning how to pitch, and I still think he can be a good pitcher for years to come. But we're seeing it like Sean was saying with Alex Wood, a top 12 pitcher right now. I just don't think he's going to be that good going forward.
Okay, let me ask y'all this: who would you bet on long term, Taijuan Walker or Alex Wood?
Taijuan Walker.
I believe so too, Sean.
Yeah, I was living in Arizona in 2018 when they acquired him, and it's funny. He was called Baby Felix by the Mariners fans before they gave up on him, because he was there when Felix was winning Cy Youngs. He was on the rise, and unfortunately, his shoulder exploded. Like 2 months into the season when he got there, and that's how he ended up basically being on the street for nothing. I would bet on Walker long term because the delivery looks the same as it did when I first saw him at 22, when the Mariners called him up. And now he's older, he's wiser. He's using more of a sinker two-seamer mix with a changeup mixed in there. It's just absolutely deadly. I'm a little skeptical about what the enforcement of the sticky stuff's going to be like. I think they're going to be looking for the heavy sticky stuff and not as much rosin. So we'll see what happens, or if they're going to be actually,
rosin's legal. It's what you mix with rosin. So
right. And there's not going to be spider tack. They're going to be looking for that. But I think teams are going to find a way to still give the pitchers a way to grip the ball, just not the same as they've been doing. If anybody, that's not a Braves fan like me and McGee are, didn't see Peter Moylan's breakdown yesterday on the Braves pregame show, he gave a great explanation of the difference between, rosin and mud, which is basically the standard norm, the neutral, and what these guys are using with spider tack, and broke it down really well. So I would weigh that on Walker long term. I think talent has always been there. You just have to gamble on him staying healthy.
All right, we got to run to DFS before we run out of time. Do y'all have any last things you want to jam in before we jump on DFS?
No, DFS it is.
I'm good. Okay. Yep, DFS it is.
All right, so we're taking the late slate to give people a chance to fill these out. It's always much more fun when there's like 10 to 11, and if that's the case, you can just bank on we're always going to take the longer slate. But when it's very close, we're going to try to take the later slate. We've had some people comment about that. Man, I turned this on at 1:30 and y'all have already done the slate. I'm like, well, who told you to turn it on at 1:30? Jackass. Get out of bed. But so essentially what we're talking about is it's not limited, but there definitely isn't a long slate to pick from. So with all that being said, we'll start with you, Steven. What pitchers are you looking at, and who are you looking to stack?
Well, like one thing to note is it's most likely going to be a 6-game slate. The Cardinals and Braves are most likely going to be rained out with the tropical storm. Some of those effects hitting them. Okay, if you're playing your cash games, those are your 50-50s. We're going to go for, like I usually try to stick with the safer pitchers. So for my combo there, I'd be looking at Patrick Sandoval against Detroit. He's at 8,600. And then Josh Fleming against Seattle. He's at 6,800. Two very good matchups there. Also very cheap. Like allows you to almost get like whichever batters you want, whether you're doing cash or tournaments. Other pitchers I like, if you want to go expensive, Walker Buehler at 11,000. He is facing Arizona, but the strikeout potential hasn't been there. I'm not opposed to using him because of the matchup, but I'm not jumping to use him. Also, really the 6,000 range is kind of like where I'm liking the pitchers today. Because I like also Austin Gomber. He is pitching at home in Coors, but he has been dominant in Coors this year. I think he's got like an under 2.5 ERA, striking people out. Nobody's able to hit him. And Milwaukee has really been better against right-handed pitching this year. I'm not touching Gomber in cash games, but I think he's definitely worth a flyer in a tournament. Then if you're looking at teams to stack, possibly get some leverage tonight on the White Sox. They're facing Framber Valdez in Houston. Valdez has looked pretty good, but the White Sox have been even better against left-handed pitching. I think they win out that one. And then another spot I'm looking at is the Angels offense. I mean, Sean could tell you we don't really have to think that one through too much. They're killing the ball right now, and Detroit isn't pitching well. And then also the Padres and Reds game. I like both offenses in that game playing in a hitter-friendly Petco Park.
All right, Sean, what about you?
Yeah, it's tough for me to add anything to that because he took everything that I have in my DFS lineup. I was going to mention Gomber, that he was at the same price as Drew Smiley, which made no sense to me whatsoever because Gomber's averaged like 27 fantasy points his last 4 starts, including almost a 40-point outing his last time out against the Padres. And he's been very good in Coors. I actually like Framber today. I know the White Sox have hit left-handers really hard, but if you haven't watched Framber Valdez, you are missing out because this dude is filthy filthy. And he is going to give, especially, some of their switch hitters in that lineup real fits. He pitches much better to right-handers, and he pitches inside a lot. So I actually like Framber, even though he's 9,500. I would rather spend 9,500 on him than the extra amount on Walker Buehler. And yeah, seriously, grab as many Angels as you can because, Tigers are beaten up. It's tough to be a Tigers fan, but it's also kind of exciting because we have all these young pitchers to watch. But today's not one of those days. They're trotting out Willie Peralta. Yes, that Willie Peralta, who's been with like the Brewers and the Braves and the Reds and like 8 other teams. And the likelihood he goes 4 innings and gives up 9 is incredibly high. So get as many Angels as you can in your lineup. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
One last thing to point out, we talked about Logan Gilbert a little bit earlier. He's 6,900 today. He's pitching at home against Tampa. I mean, I was initially looking at Tampa Bay as a stack just because they've been a pretty decent team all around this year. They have some power all up and down that lineup, but they also have the highest strikeout rate in the last 2 weeks against right-handed pitching. So Gilbert may be a nice option there today.
All right, it's time to play a little pepper. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I figured with today being Juneteenth, this would be a good topic for everybody as we commemorate Juneteenth here. It's kind of ironic that it finally becomes a national holiday. It falls on a Saturday, of course so. But anyways, so I got to thinking about how sports makes us all equal. I think that's why sports fans are less likely to fall into the trap of racist thoughts and whatnot as you're growing up. If you grow up a sports fan, you love your team, you love every player. It kind of separates all that, right? And so I've always felt like that people who aren't into sports don't necessarily or didn't play sports don't get that kind of surrounding and doesn't make them as well-rounded, for lack of a better term. So growing up, and I know y'all aren't prepared for this, but can you think of a moment, a player, a game, maybe just someone that you read about, whatever, that opened your eyes to the fact that not that everybody's equal, because obviously you ought to know that, but more of the fact that this is a cool story and I am pulling for this person, or I look more, or if it's someone from way back, like a Jackie Robinson that I read up on more because I just really enjoyed learning more about it. Steven, I'll start with you.
I mean, I think that is like a little bit off the top, but I'd say one thing that kind of sticks out when I was playing Little League, one of my teammates was actually at, I think he's with the Royals now, Michael Taylor. And I mean, I remember playing with him. One thing that really kind of stuck out, obviously he's in the majors now. He's always been fantastic at baseball, but the attitudes around him always were kind of different than, just a little bit different than most of the other players. Like he was like a lot of people were always quick to call him flashy or quick to kind of judge him differently than I felt like I would or some of my other friends would be. So I mean, it was just kind of always that was one of the moments that really kind of stood out to me. And I've always kind of pulled for the kid since.
I didn't know that you knew Michael Taylor. That's a cool story. Sean, what say you?
Yeah, when I think of that and I think of baseball, the same story comes into my head every single time I think about it, which is the first baseball book I ever read was The Mick, which is about Mickey Mantle. I got it in the public library in the tiny little town that I grew up in. And there's a story in that book about Mickey Mantle and Elston Howard. Elston Howard was the first African-American player on the Yankees. He broke their color barrier in 1955. There's a story about them basically going to Kansas City and being on a road trip to Kansas City and stopping for something to eat, and the diner wouldn't serve Elston Howard and made him eat in the bus. And Mickey Mantle told Bobby Richardson, and I think Roger Maris was there as well too, but it may not have been. I think that might have been before Maris got there. This story is told in the movie 61, which brought it back to me, and I always think about it. Mickey Mantle said, "You guys enjoy your meal," and went and ate in the bus with Elston Howard because he didn't want him to sit in there alone. And that is Mickey Mantle was my father's favorite non-Tiger, and was really my father's favorite player, and was somebody I idolized. He's the reason I love Pudge Rodriguez, because he wore 7, and all that stuff. And it's the reason why all the jerseys I have with my name on it have the number 7 on the back. That's always been my number, because of Mickey Mantle. And that's the only story I ever think about when I think about racism in baseball is, it's not all bad, kids. It's not all bad. There are good people in the world. So even back then there were.
I would say with me, and of course, going up to New York every single summer, I was surrounded by the story of Jackie Robinson. So that's the easy one. But I think the one that jumped out at me, the one I actually lived through, was the Super Bowl Redskins versus the Broncos, and everyone making such a big deal about it was the first black quarterback to play in the Super Bowl. And I never understood why that was that big a deal. Of course, I was a kid and I did not realize that, at that time, and then you start reading up on how bad it was prior to. So I pulled for him that game. And of course, he had a phenomenal game. I also liked him because he was a Tampa Bay Buccaneer previously, and I was surrounded by the Buccaneers as a kid. So I always think about that. And then later on, what Doug Williams did to help out Warwick Dunn when he had a really tough time right before he got to Florida State. And we don't have time to get into that story, but that's a really cool story if you're against to look at. So Doug Williams is one of my favorite. As we go to walk off here, it is Juneteenth. So we're celebrating, let me turn that off, Black Americans. So I ask you this. Who is your favorite Black American, preferably in baseball, but if it's in another sport, let her rip. Steven, what say you?
Derek Jeter for me. I mean, I grew up watching him.
Well, I meant someone currently. Sorry, I should have.
Currently.
Although he's still probably the best Marlin, but go ahead.
I mean, if you want to call him current, but no, if we're gonna stick Marlins, Jazz Chisholm has just really just been a spark of joy for the Marlins this year. Like the way he plays is just it. He plays having fun. He looks like he's going to be a great part of the Marlins going forward. I love him. And then Marcus Stroman, he's been a really good role model for kids. He's been really active in the community and trying to get his voice out there. I really respect what he's done.
Sean, what say you?
Current players, I'm going to have to go. Current players, I'm going to have to go in a different direction. I'm just going to say
Jose Urena.
Yeah. Jose Urena. Stop it. Knock it off.
All right, I'll give you mine since you're dragging over here. Josh Harrison, I think, is one of my favorite players. He's never even played on a team that I like. But I don't know what it is, but there's something about Josh Harrison that I always liked. Howie Kendricks was one of my favorite, but that was because he was from Jacksonville. And so I pulled for him, even though he played for the Nats, but he did bounce around all over. I always kept up with where the hell is Howie Kendrick playing this year. And I hate the fact that he retired, because I really enjoy. I was hoping someone would sign him, but I think he was just like, enough is enough. I've got a ring. It's time to go. But Josh Harrison, 33 years old, out of looks like he was born out of Cincinnati, which I did not know that, but it would make sense because that is a baseball town. All right, Sean, have you gotten your thoughts together?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a Nashvilleian, and other than the one that was coming to my mind, but Tony Kemp is the one that always comes up to me. Actually, my wife's family knows his family. He played at Vanderbilt. He's from Nashville. He's had a couple of cups of coffee in the league. He's been with Houston. He's been with Oakland. I think he's still in Oakland system somewhere, or might even be in the majors. Hasn't completely worked out for him the way I thought it might when he was at Vanderbilt, because he just hasn't been able to adapt. And he's one of those shorter guys. Like he's 5'6", 5'7", like Altuve size. and just hasn't been able to figure out how to stick on a major league roster. He's gotten hurt a couple times, but he does a lot of stuff for underprivileged kids in the community in Nashville. So Tony Kemp's the one that I'll mention. He's the most memorable one to me, at least locally.
Okay, what is your walk-off for the day, Mr. Stephen Troche?
Kind of in the vein of Juneteenth, just another story I remembered is like when I was younger, I read Derek Jeter put out a book called The Life You Imagine, just kind of talked about his upbringing, his experiences with racism, and just how it kind of shaped how he was as a person, and just kind of he just kind of went through his life and how he basically got to how he is. It's a book I recommend to anybody to read. It's only $3 on Amazon, so if you got some spare change.
Sean, what say you?
Watch that Logan Gilbert start, and let's hope that tropical storm passes through Atlanta quickly and we don't get rained out.
It's not looking good. I pulled it.
It's not looking good, but crazier things have happened. We'll see.
I don't even think that we're going to get a double header. I think the best case scenario is that they'll play Sunday, and then they'll just have to figure out the makeup day. Knowing this, they should have played a double header yesterday, right? Yep. But anyways, or played extremely early today. I think if they would have started around noon, they could have gotten the game in. But that would piss off Fox or something. All right, that'll do it. We will have the replay of this up and going as well. So if you want to watch it later, if you missed some, we will see you next Saturday for the payoff pitch. Great job, guys. We'll see you next week. Sean, I'll see you Wednesday.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good day.